Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain. The lockdown videos have finished and this is a new series of videos which I'm going to call the de-escalation videos, and this is number 1 in that series. Firstly, before we begin, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Many comments there on the last video that I did. Lots of different points of view, lots of questions, so thanks for that. A big shout out to all the people that decided to support the channel through a small donation. You can see your names here. And also a big thanks to all of the people that decided to buy merchandise. You can find links in the description below to support the channel, so please consider doing that. So let's get into some of the news. Now, the big news announced yesterday was that the government has allocated time slots for outdoor activity. People will be able to go outside according to whether they're going to be practicing exercise, whether they're going to be going for a walk, whether they're going to be taking the kids out. There'll be a time slot for the over 70s, and we'll have a look at these time slots now. So here we go. So from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., people are allowed to do physical exercise and go for a walk. From 10 a.m. to 12 noon, people 70 and over are allowed to go outside for a walk as well. And people that are dependent on a carer are also allowed to go out for a walk with their carer. So for example, if you have somebody that pushes your wheelchair, you're allowed to go out with them. From 12 noon to 7 p.m., children under 14 years old are allowed to go outside accompanied by one adult. Now that's a slight change to the previous rule in order to adapt to the new time slot system here. From 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. there's another time slot here for 70 plus, and from 8 p.m. there's another time slot here for people to practice exercise and to go for a walk. Now, as far as I've been able to understand, you're only allowed to use one of these time slots. You can't go out for exercise in the morning, then again in the evening, and people over the age of 70 can't go out in the morning and then again in the evening, okay? Physical exercise has to be done individually, but people are allowed to go out for walks with their partners, okay? So you're allowed to go out for a walk with your couple or your partner, but if you're going to do exercise, you can only do that alone. Walks are also limited to a 1 kilometer radius, similar to the distance that you can go out with kids. But there's no limits on how far you can go to practice sport as long as you stay within the boundaries of your municipality. Now, it's also important to know that municipalities with 5,000 people or less, these timeframes will not apply, and all activities may be conducted between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. because there is no risk of crowds forming, said Iya. Now again, we'll just have a look here as to how far you can go. So as previously stated, the route allowed for walks must be a maximum distance of 1 kilometer from the place you reside during confinement. In the case of individual sports, the minister repeatedly stressed that the only spatial limitation will be that you will not be able to leave the municipality you're in. The limit to take a walk is 1 kilometer, and to play sports, it belongs to the municipality itself. So again, it's going to depend on the size of the area you are living in. So for example, here where I live, the municipality is about 10 kilometers long and about 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers wide. So we're going to be able to do exercise in all of that area. If you live in a city like Madrid, the municipality is the center of Madrid, where the Madrid Town Council is in control. So the distance you can practice exercise is going to depend on the place you are living. So if you're living in a small municipality, you're not going to have as much room as if you are in a big one. Now, there's been a lot of talk that perhaps this de-escalation is too soon and that Spain is not ready for it. And there is a risk, of course, that cases could increase in the future. And if that happens, we could go back to more severe restrictions in the future. And as we can see here, the president has had to accelerate the de-escalation and the economic recovery when he found that the EU aid will be late and predictably with conditions. Obviously, because we need some type of activity to return to the economy, as that European aid which Spain has been asking for doesn't seem likely anytime soon. So the Prime Minister had to succumb to the business lobbies to reactivate the economy. Now, from an economy point of view, we can see here that this crisis has sunk the Spanish economy in the first quarter by 5.2%, the biggest drop in almost a century. The great seclusion, as they're calling it here, has paralyzed activity and has caused a drop in GDP between January and March, unprecedented in recent history. And another headline today sees that the government foresees a collapse of GDP of 9.2% in 2020 and an escalation of unemployment to 19%. Now, those of you familiar with Spain will know that unemployment has been a serious problem in Spain for decades, This is nothing new, and in fact 19% would even be less than the previous crisis in 2008, where I think unemployment reached levels of 25%, and youth unemployment in particular went over 50% in a lot of areas in Spain. And until recently there were some areas in Spain that still had very high unemployment. So for a lot of people living in Spain, 19% wouldn't seem that much of a problem. Of course, if you were living in Australia or perhaps the USA or even the UK, 19% would be a revolution, but here in Spain unemployment's been worse than 19% in the past. Now, bad news for some areas in Spain, Madrid and Barcelona in particular, as we can see here that the director of the Centre for Health Emergencies, Mr. Simon, has warned that the de-escalation may be delayed in Madrid and Catalonia. And another headline today in the Catalan newspaper La Vanguardia says that Barcelona and Madrid do not meet the requirements to start the de-escalation. So some bad news there if you're like me living in one of these areas, Madrid or Barcelona, that de-escalation might not begin here as it will do in some other areas around Spain. So good luck to if you are living in one of those areas that will be de-escalated before. But here in Madrid, it looks as though we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, at least until the situation is under control. Now, an article here from La Razón, which is a right-wing newspaper, it says that jurists warn we are facing a hidden state of emergency. Jurists and constitutionalists consulted by La Razón criticised the government's letting go of inertia and prolonging the restriction of freedoms while others endorsed the measure. We can see here that the succession of extensions of the state of alarm divides the jurists and constitutionalists consulted by La Razón. While some consider that it does not make sense to perpetuate the limitation or restriction of fundamental rights, especially freedom of movement, and even remember that the duration of the measure must be strictly essential, others do not see fault from a constitutional point of view to chain one extension after another, as long as they are approved by Congress while guaranteeing the proportionality of the decisions taken. So again, division in the legal community. Are some of our fundamental rights like freedom of movement being violated by this state of alarm? What's your opinion? Leave it in the section below. Do you agree, or do you think the government measures are necessary? We'll see how that debate takes shape in the comment section. Now let's have a look at some of the comments on the last video. Now the first one here from Doug Shield, he says, "Hi Stuart, thanks for the continuing lockdown update. We've watched them all. We're on the point of buying a house in Calpe, but we're just beaten by the lockdown, so we're still in the UK until restrictions are such that we can buy our house and move in. Hopefully by autumn, ? Despite what's happened, there's no change to our plans and no stopping our relocation to Spain. Just to add that we are retired, so not dependent on the job situation. Keep up the good work." Yeah, Doug, thanks for the comment. A lot of people in the same boat as you guys. They're people that have bought houses or were considering buying houses in Spain, considering moving to Spain to retire, or even a lot of people that were considering moving to Spain to work have had their plans changed. By autumn, I don't know. It all depends on whether that international travel aspect is going to change. I'd like to be optimistic and think that by September, October, things will get back to some type of normal. People will be able to travel again inside Europe, but again, nothing clear at the moment, so you might have to leave your plans on ice for the next 6 months or so. Now, one here from William Scott. He says, "My driving license expires in June. When can I make an appointment to renew it?" Yeah, William, good question. Remember that in the state of the alarm, all of these bureaucratic processes have been suspended, and they will most likely be lifted sometime in the near future. I'm in the same situation as you. My driver's license has expired already. I got a letter from the DGT, the people in control of traffic here in Spain, and they told me that I needed to renew it. I actually got this done before the lockdown. What I did was I went to one of these accredited centres that we have here where I live, and I did all the tests necessary, and they gave me a temporary license. Now, at the moment, I don't think these businesses are open, but I imagine that they are going to open during this de-escalation phase. Just have a look on the internet and find one that's closest to your home and give them a ring and see what's going on. And that's the easiest way to get your driver's license renewed here in Spain. One here from Melanie. She says, "Hi Stuart, thanks for your invaluable updates. I would like to ask if you and your wife have noticed a big increase on your food bill. Many people here have noticed that the prices of fresh fruit, veg and meat have gone up considerably. My Spanish friends say the increase in prices has been on the Spanish news, but as I don't have the Spanish news, I wondered if you had seen anything. Also, do you know if the government are monitoring the price hikes, as I read something in March that they would be doing this?" Yeah, Melanie, I have seen on the news that people are complaining about price hikes, that the price of fruit, veg, meat and things like that, fish, have gone up. Obviously for various reasons, transport costs, supply and demand, all of those things, and there have been a lot of people complaining about that. As far as I know, the government hasn't set any restrictions on limiting the price of basic food items. They have done with some medical items like masks and hand sanitizer, but as far as I know, food not yet. But again, if the situation gets out of control, we could see changes to that in the future. And to be honest, I haven't noticed a huge difference. For example, the milk that I bought yesterday, the eggs that I bought yesterday, some ham and some cheese and some vegetables that I bought didn't seem to have increased all that much. But here in Madrid, we tend to pay more for these things anyway. But to be honest, I haven't noticed a huge increase. Another one here from JLT Direct. Hi Stuart, you're doing a great job on the videos, as it really does help keep us informed at this very confusing time. The question I have is that we live in Andalusia, and this area is also known as the Costa del Golf. As a golfer myself, we cannot get any guidance on just when the courses might open again. Any ideas, please? And there's another comment here from Ian, who also says something similar, that he wants to get back playing golf as soon as possible. Now, Ian and JLT, I haven't heard too much on the golf situation. I don't play golf here anymore. I know that in Australia, some states have allowed golf to continue because it's one of those sports that's good for your health and it does maintain social distancing. But I did look up online and I found this article here which said that the Golf Federation has presented an opening protocol to return to play. Now I know that there are some sports that are allowed to take place again after one of the deconfinement phases. I think it's phase 2. I think after that phase people will again be allowed to practice sports like tennis. I'm not sure about golf, but I'm sure that the Golf Federation wants to get people back on the courses as soon as possible, and most likely it will happen during one of these deconfinement phases, but again, not sure during which, but I'm sure that your golf course will keep you informed as to when they open in the future, because they want people back on the courses as soon as possible, and as you said, it's an important tourist activity here in Spain. Another one here from Cell GRRL. Stuart, until your English students start coming back, have you considered teaching Spanish online to fill the gaps? Yeah, thanks for that. Somebody the other day sent me an email telling me that I should start teaching Spanish, that they would be interested in having Spanish lessons with me. My Spanish is fairly good. I got a degree in Spanish back in the day, and I consider myself to be quite fluent. I've never had a problem to communicate in Spanish. I understand nearly everything, and I think I could be a good Spanish teacher. So I might take that suggestion on board and start teaching Spanish. Another one here from Chris. He says, hi Stuart, thanks for your lockdown videos. We plan to move to Spain in July from the UK. Do you think this will be possible? We have Spanish residency, although we are currently still living in the UK. Now, Chris, as it currently stands, if you are a resident here in Spain or if you are a citizen here in Spain, you are allowed to come back to Spain. Another question is how you get here. I'm not sure how you're going to do that. Maybe there are some flights available, or maybe you could drive your car across to France and then come down that way. If you can prove that residency, I don't think there's going to be a problem. There is an interesting video online at the British Embassy Facebook page where they detail exactly who can and can't come into Spain, and they do answer a lot of those questions that you are posing. So check that video out on the British Embassy's Facebook page. One here from Charles. He says, hey Stuart, we have a small garden in the compound. My British neighbour and his wife were sunbathing. One local neighbour harassed them and told them to enter their house, and even touched the husband, tapping on his back and threatening to call the police. What do you say to that? I say the most stupid laws I have seen in the past weeks. Yeah, Charles, again, it depends what type of garden we're talking about. If we're talking about an individual private garden, so for example, if you have one of these terraced houses and you have a private individual garden, nobody can tell you what to do. However, if you have a communal area, let's say for example you live in one of these typical estates where you have various houses and a communal area with a pool, open spaces, you can't sunbathe in those areas legally. I agree the neighbour's being a bit of a dick, but he does have the law on his side if that is the particular case. If it is a communal area. If it's private, no. Communal, yes. He's right. And finally, one here from Zach the photographer. He says the government could impose a tourism tax of €15 each as a way to raise money. Mexico has been doing this for many years. Yeah, Zach, you're probably right. There's going to be a lot of taxes imposed on different things. A tourism tax is obviously something that the Spanish government could apply. I know that there are some tourist taxes already in place in Spain. I think the Balearic Islands had one for many, many years, and there are some other areas that do impose a tax on you if you come to stay in a hotel, for example, here in Spain. 15 euros could be a reasonable amount, I don't know, but I'm sure the government is going to be looking at every single option in order to raise money in the future, and of course a tourist tax would be an easy one for them to impose. So on that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. I'll let you guys debate the video out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego and stay safe.